Hi, thanks for tuning in. Within the last 30 years, the theory of costly signals has been accepted as the hallmark of biological communication. The theory's underlying assumption is that while most organisms have no need to interact, there are exceptional cases in which organisms benefit from communication. This occurs when the exchange of information is vital for survival or reproductive success. The sender's signal will be perceived as reliable by the receiver only if it is manifestly costly to produce and transmit. For example, a predator needs to know the physiological condition of prey, and prey the immediate intentions of the predator. Multilateral signaling allows organisms to size each other up as competitors or as mates. Another way to explain costly signals is this $445 pair of shoes displayed in the 2007 Neiman Marcus catalog. If a high-status man were seen wearing these shoes, everyone would laugh with him. A lower-status man, however, would find onlookers laughing at him. High standing carries immunities from ridicule. When prestigious men wear silly shoes, their high status is affirmed, not lowered. This would also be true for a fashion statement more widespread, like someone wearing a t-shirt and blue jeans with holes in them. It really matters if that person is a Hollywood producer or a homeless person walking the streets. In humans, religious behaviors can be costly communication that demonstrates a willingness to cooperate. Those able and willing to send costly signals attain high status. Humans are tireless social evaluators. Those who do the heavy lifting get the credit, while those less willing to sacrifice experience status in decline. In small band ancestral environments, each person quickly became aware of everyone else's words and actions. Deceptive signalers could be relegated to low standing or expelled. Human prosociality became adaptive because free-riding cheaters left fewer offspring than reliable signalers who cooperated beyond the call of duty. Jewish behaviors could be grouped into two categories. First, the practice of Judaism at some level of authenticity, and second, communal activism that sustains Jewish institutions. Let's look at examples of costly communication in Jewish life. Parents have invested heavily in the Jewish education of their children. Jews are required to be lifelong students of their religion. Textual knowledge and verbal acuity communicate the high cost in time and money expended by parents and their children. In Orthodox academies of learning, even today, students respond to each other by shouting out textual interpretations. The din and rhythmic movement of this learning environment functions, in part, as a fitness display for the students. After the birth of a boy, the ceremony of circumcision can be seen as a costly signal of submission to the covenantal tradition, both for the parents who arrange the ceremony and the infant whose foreskin is removed. The bar mitzvah is a coming-of-age ceremony in which the boy assumes the obligations of Jewish manhood. Preparing for the ritual and organizing the evening celebration is always costly. Parents and children send hard-to-fake signals of cooperation to family, friends, and to congregants. Participating in religious communities comes at a high price. Paying dues and pledging to building campaigns, the quid pro quo for membership communicates reliably one's investment in the community. During the prayer service, signaling is everywhere. It takes preparation and practice to learn the pronunciation and melodies of a congregation's liturgy. When the Torah is read aloud, the readers prepare carefully because the scroll text has only consonants. There are no vowels, punctuation marks, or cantillation notes. When an immediate relative passes away, tradition requires mourners to recite the Kaddish prayer for 11 months, an obligation that can be done only with 10 Jews present. Showing up to follow this tradition, or enabling others to do so, signals respect for one's relatives or the relatives of fellow Jews. Accumulating a Jewish library can also be seen as a costly signal. When guests look around one's home, an extensive collection of Jewish books displays interest in and respect for one's Jewish heritage. Self-help institutions have been prominent in Jewish life for centuries. Communities raise funds for schooling, centers for meeting and socializing, job and family counseling, housing for the elderly, and support for Israel, among other causes. Effective solicitation of funds includes one-on-one personal appeals by friends or business associates, and community-wide events that feature public pledging. These events give potential donors the opportunity for costly signaling, such as their names displayed on a plaque hung in a very visible place. A small donation will be a costly signal by those with little money, but a cheap signal by those who everyone knows could afford much more. In a public gathering, amounts pledged are often announced, providing donors honor in the eyes of his or her peers. In Jewish secular life, individuals who talk the talk send cheap, unreliable signals, while those who walk the walk send costly, reliable ones. When reputation is at stake, costly signals really matter. I will now try to explain how display cost differs between the major denominations, Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. Although the denominations differ theologically, it is each denomination's internal conformity to upper and lower limits of costly religiosity that underpins their distinctiveness. Studies of Christian churches have shown that people join where they find members just like themselves, and therefore feel most comfortable. Theology does play a part, but educational level, income, language, and ethnicity appear to be more decisive. People seem to choose congregations in which the signaling level is neither too far above nor too far below their own capacity. Within the last 2 centuries, the liberal Jewish movements, Reform and Conservative, emerged in response to civic modernity in Europe and America. Reform emphasized individual choice based on the ethics of prophetic teachings. Once Reform rejected traditionalism as commanding, staunch traditionalists responded by creating orthodoxy. At that point, conservative Judaism arose as a middle ground between the other two. Conservatives historically accepted the yoke of tradition, but it also allowed as necessary certain accommodations to modernity. I'm suggesting that ideological differences are ancillary in denominationalism. Separation is based on the tolerance level of each movement for costly religiosity. There is nothing inherent in the theology, per se, of liberal Judaism that reduces the costliness of signaling. For example, nothing in Reform Judaism discouraged daily prayer services, but Reform temples nonetheless never have them. Although liberal Judaism puts less emphasis on prayer services, could they not exhibit equivalent costliness through community volunteering and political activism, which are the cornerstones of their religiosity? While these behaviors are highly touted in liberal congregations, the quantity of time and money spent on them by members is far less than the time and money spent on prayer service attendance by the average Orthodox Jew. One could accurately describe the raison d'etre of liberal denominations as a compact that constrains the cost of religiosity. Liberal Jews are well aware of their deficit of piety, but they persist in the unspoken convention of ignoring the actual performance of progressive acts at the core of their movement. Progressive causes are often touted, but infrequently acted upon, because individual judgment reigns above all. In this respect, the individualism of liberal Judaism has more in common with Protestant Christianity than it does with traditional Judaism. Interestingly, even if it is vehemently denied, liberal Jews tacitly understand that Orthodox Jews are the real Jews, since their level of observance sends the costliest signals of traditional knowledge and commitment. As a test of my hypothesis, which is more likely, a picture of a traditional Jew hanging on the wall in a Reform home, or a picture of a Reform Jew hanging on the wall in an Orthodox home? On the other side of things, most Orthodox communities are becoming more strict about costly behaviors. One result is a Red Queen dynamic of cost inflation. If you recall, the Red Queen told Alice that in Wonderland you have to run as fast as you can just to stay in the same place. This phenomenon of cost inflation also exists in communities where members feel compelled to increase the cost of their signals just to maintain their relative standing. For example, the purchase of elaborate clothing for rituals can become more costly because it ratchets up the ante in status competition. In conclusion, the process of signaling one's quality in any context requires that in order for the signals to be reliable, they must carry a perceivable cost. Religion began and survives in a social context of thriving communication. The term organized religion is a tautology, since individualized religion has never become evolutionarily sustainable. Costly signals facilitate the creation of social capital. Self-centered, individualistic spirituality sends a cheap signal precisely because there is no social commitment. Those who handicap themselves by organizing and maintaining communal religiosity send the most reliable of signals of willingness to sacrifice for their brethren. Jewish life could accurately be described as an unending succession of costly signaling opportunities. The Lithuanian Jewish expression, "Zi shver zu tzanayid," literally means, "it's hard to be a Jew." The expression has a double meaning. The obvious one is that Jews have historically lived as subordinated minorities, often ruled over by a variety of anti-Semites. A second meaning, however, is that living a Jewish life is a strenuous test of ability and willingness to send costly signals. Thank you for watching.